Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Sylvia. I'm the founder of Rally Recruitment Marketing, and I want to welcome all of you to this product demonstration that's part of our Rally Forward virtual conference. And with us today is Mark Hatton, and he is with Convey IQ by Intello. Hi, Mark.
Hello, Lori. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm doing well. Yeah, thank you so much for being here and being a part of our very first online technology showcase. Why don't
Exciting.
you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your role at Convey IQ by Intello, and also tell us more about the company now, especially now that you've merged with Intello.
Yes. So as you mentioned, my name is Mark Hatton. I come actually from the Convey IQ side of things. Convey IQ was purchased by Intello August of this year. So I am an account executive focusing most of my time on go-to-market, obviously with our platform. And, it's exciting times for us with this acquisition. We're in the process of merging two platforms into one, which would make us one of, if not the only source to hire platform out there, which would encompass automated sourcing, passive sourcing, and also candidate experience in one offering. Today, I'd like to focus most of our time, actually all of our time, on the Convey IQ product. So if it's okay with you, how about if I start with a nice overview so that everyone kind of has an understanding of what it is that we do?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, excellent. So, welcome everyone. The way that I like to describe our platform, Convey IQ, is that we are an intelligent candidate engagement platform that's really changing the way that enterprise companies are communicating with top talent. And so, the product itself is designed to enable teams to automate a lot of the manual tasks that recruiters are faced with, particularly those around communication. And so, in that regard, you can really think of the product as an all in one bespoke communications framework for the entire candidate journey. And so, for our customers, for which there are many, we are powering the communications from the point that a candidate applies through their ATS all the way through to hire or disposition. As we go through this, I think what you'll find, and one of the really neat things about the platform itself, is that it's not a point solution. So many of the conversations that I engage in, I find that companies have a point solution for surveys, a point solution for scheduling, a point solution for digital interviewing, so on and so forth. All of those things, digital interviewing, personalized and branded bi-directional communications, smart scheduling, real-time interviewing, surveying, analytics, are all built into the platform as one. So you really can think about what we do as a nice complement to the ATS. In fact, we actually do deep integrations with ATSs, which enables us to pull information, candidate information, location, position, department, hiring manager, that kind of stuff into our platform. And then we can use that to personalize any of the messaging that we might be sending out. So what I'm going to take you guys through today when we go into the product is as a candidate journey. What a candidate journey is really a series of personalized messages that get sent to candidates throughout the hiring process by way of either an email and or a text message. And it's really a journey within our platform that allows for automated and consistent communication that's integrated between whatever ATS you happen to have and our platform. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to exit out of this. I'm going to jump in. We're going to dive into a journey. And what I'd like to let everyone know up front is that our customers, we don't ask them really to do anything differently than what they do today in terms of a workflow process. All of the communications that come from our platform, whether it be text messaging or emails or any type of call to action, is initiated from within the ATS by a recruiter simply moving a candidate from one stage to the next stage within their ATS. Because of our integration, that lets us know, oh, at this particular stage, this is what we should do in an automated fashion. I know that the focus here really is about the candidate experience and making that as good as it possibly can be for everyone that comes through the funnel, particularly given that this is a candidate-driven market. And I know that a lot of companies spend a tremendous amount of time sourcing high-quality talent. And then the next step is, how do you maintain that talent and how do you get them through to the end of the funnel and ultimately to hire? And the best way to do that is to make sure that you're putting out the best possible candidate experience that you can.
Yeah, in fact, for this online technology showcase, we really wanted to ask the sponsors of Rally Forward to show us their technology. I think that for 2020 in particular, it seems like a great time to look forward and think about what are we going to do next to try to really differentiate our candidate experience from others and bring our candidate experience to the next level. So I'm excited to see this demonstration. I am already interested because you're talking about candidate communications, which we
Yeah,
know is super important throughout the candidate experience. How does your platform, Mark, enable a modern candidate experience?
excellent question. Let's dive in and let's take a look at that. First and foremost, automation is the key. Whether you have 2 recruiters or 100 recruiters, the challenge is the same, right? You're trying to give everyone that high level white glove service, and it's really a challenge. The more you scale, the more there's opportunity to have voids in communication, the black hole, so to speak, to where candidates just really don't know where they are within the process. In fact, that's the number one complaint that candidates have is it's like, didn't know where I was. So I'm going to walk you through a journey, and this is a journey that I created for Noom. They are a weight loss site. In particular, we are going to look at a software engineer. So that's the role that we're trying to fill here. And what I've done is I've created a journey. I'm going to walk you through this so that you see what it looks like from the perspective of a recruiter and also the candidate themselves. So Lori, if you were to apply for this software job, what would happen within our platform and how do we make sure that you get a really good candidate experience? So
Okay.
the first thing that happens is we're going to send out communication that's automated. And so in this case, we've got an email and we've got a text message. The form field merges that you see here, we have the ability, as I mentioned, through our ATS integration to pull in the candidate name, the position name, and anything else that we want to choose to bolster this communication. But it's a, hey, Lori, thank you so much for applying for this position. We're really excited. Here's what you can expect from here. Now, again, the recruiter hasn't really done anything to this point. This is automated. Anybody that applies for this software engineer position is going to get this communication. One of the differentiators is that you'll see as we go through this, you can really personalize this. You can add gifts to make it more touchy-feely and warm and personalized and make the candidate feel like I'm not one of 700 people that also got this communication. We can also send out an email as well. Now, one of the first thoughts that come to mind is when people say, well, I've got an ATS, my ATS can send out emails. From a consistency perspective, particularly if you're a stickler for marketing and preserving the brand, you want to make sure that everything that comes from within your organization is consistent regardless of who it is that it's coming from. So if you have different point solutions that are sending out communications from different places, from the perspective of a candidate, that can seem a little bit disjointed. It doesn't have the same look and same feel. The benefit here is that, again, we're on a journey. You've applied to a software engineer position. You are now getting communications in an automated fashion, and the recruiter hasn't really had to do too much to this point. Okay, so one of the big things that happens is, Laura, you apply for a position, and now a bunch of days have gone by and you haven't heard anything back, right? And you're thinking, what's the deal here?
Yes, and I'm getting anxious.
You're getting anxious. Like, did they forget about me? So here we've got a time delay trigger set up. This can be as many days as you'd like. It could be 5 days, it could be 10 days. But if I'm your recruiter and I don't move you from application review to a screening step as an example, then what we're going to do is send out another communication, right? So this is a little bit more personalized, right? Hey, Lori, thanks for hanging in there with us. We got more resumes than we had anticipated. We're going through. We still love you. We're still really interested. Hang in there with us. We're going to get back to you shortly. So this is another instance to where a recruiter really hasn't done anything. In fact, this action is driven by a lack of action from the recruiter, to where they don't have to say, oh, geez, I didn't get back to Lori. Let me send a really quick email. Usually they would just skip that. Recruiters are tremendously busy. So this is a way that you can kind of help to avoid that black hole. Just one instance of that. So a few things could happen from here, Lori. You could be just a little bit short on what we're looking for in a skill set, and we send you to a rejection post application. Of course, that can be completely automated as well. It can be completely branded. You can bring in whatever creative assets you would like. So here's an example of, hey, check your email. Even though they're not going to move on, it's still important to let the candidate know where they are within the process. Particularly if you're a consumer-facing brand, it's very, very easy to put a bad taste in a candidate's mouth where they would never do business with you again because they felt like they didn't have a good experience with you.
Yeah.
Uh,
And also just Mark, that was one of the things that we heard at Rally Forward Virtual Conference from our closing keynote speaker, Kevin Grossman from the Talent Board. He talked specifically about the business impact of having a poor candidate experience.
Yeah, it may be hard to measure, but make no mistake that it's there, right? So I applied to a position at the Gap. I love the Gap. I really want to work for the Gap. I have a poor experience, and now suddenly I don't care to ever do business with the Gap again. That could very easily happen. So regardless of whether or not the candidate is going to move to the next stage or step, it's still important to let them know where they are within the process. We're going to talk about overall business impact. So let's just assume that you're going to make it a little bit further in the step. Now this should look pretty familiar, right? So now we've got our screening step. Hey, guess what? We'd like to move you on to the next step in the process, and here's what you can expect, right? Check your email. Of course, we've got an email that's fully branded. Again, we're going to pull in all of the content from your ATS, right? So here's what you can look forward to. Again, we've got a time delay. So after 5 days, send this out. Hey, we're excited to move you on to the next phase. Hang in there. Be sure to check your email. Be sure to check your text messages. We're going to let you know what's going to happen next. Now, at any given point in time within a candidate journey within our platform, you can issue a survey. And this is probably a little early in this stage or in the flow to issue a survey. However, it can be wherever you want. And within this survey, you can ask a candidate, hey, we take candidate experience very seriously. We'd really appreciate you if you could take a few minutes just to let us know how we're doing. So this gives you the ability to get some visibility into how it is a candidate perceives the process that you're putting them through. We've got a reminder to take the survey. There's the communication, so the recruiter doesn't need to say, hey, dear Lori, would you please take the survey? It's just a part of the process and the step. The really nice thing about this is that not only does it give you the visibility, not only is it part of the journey, but we also keep track of, okay, how many of these things are being completed and what is our overall rating? So ProScribe is an example. With their communications, they had about 24,000 applicants that received 105 customized messages, all automated through our platform. Their email rates were open rates were about 80%. Their SMS text message open rates were about 99%. And then for the surveys that they sent out, they had about a 67% survey completion rate where their overall rating was about 5 stars. So when you take this survey, it is a scale of 1 to 5. And then of course, there's the ability for the candidate to give a little bit more color about why it is they gave you the rating that they did.
Wow,
So,
those response rates are super impressive. It just goes to show you that the candidate experience is a communications experience, and the companies that are committed to really frequent, personalized communications are the ones that are going to leave the best impression on candidates, because as we know, most of the people who apply don't ever get a job.
exactly right. Exactly right. And their input is valuable. Communications, particularly if you're going to send a text message, almost everyone will get immediate eyeballs on text messages that get sent. And it's just a great way, in addition to the email, to get your visibility and to communicate with candidates. There are actually a couple of different ways that text communication can be initiated from our platform. One of which we have just gone through, which is an automated way, but the other is you can actually go through and send a text message in a manual fashion, to which that's a two-way communication. I'll show you that as well. So let's quickly move along here. There's the next step here within the process. And so these stages, by the way, would be the stages of our customer. right? This is different for all of our customers, but
Right.
the stage could be 2 stages, it could be 30 stages. It's just really dependent on the position. Digital interviewing. So for this software position, they would like to have the candidate record themselves answering a few questions. So again, this is all automated. We move you to the digital interview stage. Here are the questions. The questions can be, whatever you deem appropriate for the position. These templates could be used for multiple positions, but what are you looking for in your next company, team, position? The responses can either be written, or you can ask the candidate to actually record themselves answering these questions. You can record yourself, right? So this would be me explaining to you what's going to happen within a digital interview. And then again, all of the messaging that needs to happen for a candidate to understand what it is that they're supposed to do with this digital interview is also completely automated. Right, so think about the time savings from a recruiter perspective. If they don't have to worry about this, all you need to do is just move the candidate to this step. There's assessment criteria where you can say, when these digital interviews come back and we review them, everyone is going to evaluate using the same assessment criteria. So what happens when the interviews come back? They come back to the interviews tab here. And I see Chirag, my colleague, has been very busy with digital interviews. But you can review a digital interview, right? So we could go through, we can submit an assessment. So what's our overall rating for this candidate? What's our overall decision, yes or no? This assessment criteria, we have the ability to scale up and scale down. And then we can add in notes. We can share this internally or externally. It's all point, click, and save. So we could come in and say, yes, we want to send this to Ashley, or we could send it to someone who doesn't have credentials to our platform via shareable link. And that link can be active for up to 5 days or 1 day, whatever it is you choose. Now, from a candidate experience perspective, this may be a really, really good time for you to issue a survey after you ask someone to take a digital interview. There's a perception that sometimes this could add friction to the process. So you could, at this point in time, say, you know what, maybe we want to add a survey step here, see what the candidates think. All right, so there's 2 steps here. There's the digital interview portion, which I just showed you, but then there's also a scheduling event. So if we want to have a phone screen here, and it's tremendously difficult sometimes to figure out, okay, when can this happen? For a phone screen, it's just a one-on-one. Perhaps it's just Mark and Lori, so we only need to look at 2 calendars. But what if it's multiple? Then it gets really, really challenging. So the way that this works is we give the candidate the ability to self-schedule. So Lori, if I were trying to schedule this event with you, moving you to this stage, we would automatically look at my calendar. So we integrate with Google, Gmail, Outlook, Exchange 365. We'll look in real time and say, okay, hey, Lori, here are the days that are available, days and times for you to schedule an interview with me. You would click on it and say, okay, next Tuesday at 1 o'clock works terrific for me. You would then automatically receive an email and a text message with a confirmation, as would I, that this has been scheduled. So here we see it's a 30-minute interview with me for the software engineer position, just 30 minutes. Again, all of the communications are automated and consistent. So we're pulling all this information in and we're done. But we also send out communication internally for the interviewer so they know, hey, listen, the interview with Lori is scheduled for next Tuesday at 1. Great, it's on my calendar, it's blocked off. The day before, I would get a reminder. You would also get a reminder. If for some reason you don't schedule, we can also say, hey, listen, if 2 or 3 days go by and Lori doesn't schedule this meeting, send out another, just a friendly nudge reminder. Lori, we'd really like for you to schedule this interview so we can move on to the next step. And then we just have some guidelines about when phone screens can happen. And this is not your schedule. This is simply bookends. Don't look to schedule any phone screen interview outside of these guidelines on any of the days.
All of this automated communications is really not giving the candidate an opportunity to drop off.
Absolutely.
You just keep sending them messages to move them through the process.
Yes. Now you bring up a good point. You could really bombard a candidate with our platform. So if you had like 25 different steps, they can opt out of text message communication. Then you're done. You can no longer communicate with them via text message. However, using our platform, there's really no excuse for a candidate to have that feeling about, where am I? Am I going to move on to the next step? Did I get eliminated? Did I get hired? All of that stuff should be pretty clear if you're using the platform and you're simply moving candidates to the next stage within your ATS platform.
Yeah, I think this is a positive thing. Most candidates will have the experience where they apply and never hear anything.
Yes.
So
And that's,
this is
yeah,
going from a typical experience, which they probably expect, but then they're working with one of your employers that are using this platform, and suddenly they're being over communicated with in a really delightful way. And the other thing that I'm seeing is that it's branded. I love how you're able to bring out the employer brand and the
yeah.
voice, the personality of your company through all these communications.
Yes. If you are a CMO, you love this because there's no more rogue from a recruiter perspective. Everything is consistent, everything is on brand. Within the asset library, you can put in your hex color. So it is the exact brand color for Best Buy, as an example. I would much rather, if it were me, be on the side of maybe a little over communication than a lack of communication. That's a big differentiator, particularly if you've applied to multiple jobs and you've seen that lack of communication before. This is a high quality candidate. Your communication, by the way, doesn't necessarily need to be, hey, I want you to do this, I want you to do that. It can be, why should I come work for Noom? What's great about our organization? Here's a little bit about our culture. Here's a little bit about our core values. Here's a video of Mark talking about why he loves to work for Noom. So the communications can be anything that you want, whenever and whatever it is that you want to communicate, but you can do it in an automated fashion. And my phrase is no candidate left behind. So it doesn't matter
Yeah.
if we're looking to fill 100 positions or 4 positions, everybody can get the same experience. So it doesn't matter, as long as you are applying to a software engineer position, everyone is going to get the same level of communication. And that's really important.
It's really high touch experience.
Yes.
So you showed us the survey capability, Mark, which is giving the candidate the ability to provide some feedback. But how about the two-way communication? So it's not just
Yeah.
the automated messages that are being sent. What happens if I respond to a text or I respond to an email?
Sure. So within the candidates' profiles, and by the way, again, this is all brought across by way of the ATS integration. So I'm going to use myself as an example. So here I am. What you'll see here is a total chronology of all of the events that I've been a part of. So you can see here that I applied for a position, my application was submitted, I was asked to take a survey, I started the survey, I completed the survey, so on and so forth. So there's a chronology of events. Then to the right here, we can see all of the messages. Now these say Disney because I've spoken to Disney and I've sent things out that were branded that way. But for this particular position, it would say Noom. You'll notice that if I wanted to have a two-way communication with myself here, I could simply come in and say, hi, Mark. That is coming to my mobile device. From a recruiter perspective, the nice thing about this is, as I mentioned, recruiters are always so super, super busy. If I'm traveling and you have a response or you want to know what building should I go to when I come in for my face-to-face interview, where should I park, directions, anybody on your team could actually come in to log into the platform and pick up on this conversation. What I'll show you real quickly, I'm going to go into my email. This is a little risky, but I should have an email notification here. Here we go. So here's an email notification. So I would receive an email when a candidate replies, and I would also receive it on my phone. However, I am not giving out my personal mobile device, which is really
Yeah,
nice. So you
I
can
was
have,
going to ask that. Okay.
yeah. So that's another really nice thing about it. I'm going to close some of these out. These are the things that we were in before the tabs, right? So I can have these communications, but still have the security of not giving out my mobile device to where I might get hit at all different days on Thanksgiving, right? When you want to enjoy time with your family and friends. Okay. So the other nice thing is that let's say you go to a sourcing event and you have 50 really great candidates. They haven't applied, but you'd love to communicate with them. So one of the things that you could do is come into the candidates and you could filter or sort. It could be based on tags. So it could be women in corporate America, right? So we would tag them. We would have a list of candidates here, and here's our list. And we want to send a text message to all of them. Hey, Lori, or hey, whomever, I'd like to thank you for coming to the event yesterday. It was a pleasure meeting you. We really encourage you to take a look at our company. Here's a little bit more information. Here's a link to our careers page. We'd love to hear from you, right? Boom. Send this out as a group. It's a group text message, but each individual receives their own message. It's not all lumped together, right? And again, then any communication that comes back. So maybe Grace, we'll keep Grace. So maybe Grace is, or Ashley is someone we really, really like. So if Ashley sends us something back, we want to know, so we can mark them as a high priority or high value candidate. And any communication that comes through from Ashley would show up in our homepage here.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is great. As you can see, there's value from a candidate experience perspective, but then there's also value from a streamlined internal workflow process perspective for recruiters.
Yeah, it's great to see this much automation coming into candidate communications. It's really reminding me of marketing automation and CRM-like functionality. So
Yes,
I'm always excited when I see marketing marketing technology come into the process of recruiting, because I really believe that's the future of how we're gonna up our game here.
absolutely. I spent 10 years in marketing technology prior to this. When I got into TA and recruitment, my first observation was the technology that's available to recruiters was, and still is in many cases, lagging behind other verticals and the technologies that they have, particularly around retail, right? Everything is around personalization, and you should be able to do the same exact thing within the TA world. And really, that's what this platform is designed to do.
Yeah, it's great to see we're really moving in that direction. So then, Mark, if I want to know that what I'm doing is effective,
Yes.
how can I know that? Because we're always trying to demonstrate the value of our new TA strategy, our new recruitment marketing campaign. How do you help a practitioner know that?
Yeah, so within our analytics tab, anytime that you're going to be sending out a lot of communications, I mentioned ProScribe, right? They sent out 105 custom messages. Those were a combination of emails and text messages. You want to get a sense for, okay, what are the open rates? What are the click-through rates? What are the bounce rates for not only email but also SMS? So within our analytics, so we've got a dashboard here that would give you some visibility into this. But then you can also download any of this information. So if you've got a business intelligence tool and you want to analyze it a little bit differently, you could do that. This is specifically towards journey engagement. However, you can look at on demands. So how many on demands that we send out? What's the completion percentage? What's the average time to complete? And again, you can.
These are the video interviews?
These are the video
Okay.
interviews.
Yep.
Yes, yes. So you still want to get a sense for, okay, how are we doing on this? Particularly for organizations that maybe haven't used digital interviewing in the past, but now want to do it because we make it so easy to fit into a journey. So now you can start to get some metrics. So how are we doing? Is it better by position? So we could easily, filter and sort by position, department. We can select a time frame, whatever we want to get this information into a format or into a view that focuses in on one specific aspect of the business. And then the same thing with surveys, right? So if you're sending out surveys, I think I mentioned that ProScribe had a 67% open rate, but then they also had that 67% were all 5-star reviews, which I'd like to think that our platform has a lot to do with that, but you certainly want to get an indication of what's your average survey score, what's your completion rate. You can also filter and sort this by position, by stage. So if it's right after a digital interview and your score drops down, that is a leading indicator that maybe you need to change something within that stage, or maybe you need to just better it or fine tune it, whatever it is. but without some kind of analytics behind it, it's really hard for you to get an understanding of, is there friction? Is there a challenge somewhere within our process? And if so, where is it? And then the next step is how do you fix it? So BuzzFeed, they actually had close to an 85% response rate on their video interviews. They've got a tremendous amount of scale. And so when you look at that, they're able to screen about 11,000 applicants or so in the course of a month. And a lot of that is because of the automation. A lot of that is because of the simplicity and the ease of use that we're providing, and that the recruiter doesn't really need to do anything differently than what they do today, other than continue to work within the ATS and simply move a candidate from one stage to the next.
Awesome. Well, this has been great. I've
Yeah.
learned so much about bringing this kind of marketing technology into recruiting and seeing the automation that can be used to really improve the candidate experience.
Yeah.
And if somebody wants to learn more about ConveyIQ by Intello, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Best way for them to reach me is mhatton, Hatton, @intello.com. And I will make sure someone gets back to you if it's not myself.
And can they go to the website and also request
You,
a demo?
you can do that as well. So we have not yet merged both platforms together. So if you go to conveyiq.com, you'll find a lot of information and videos on what we've just covered here today. And if you're interested in the passive sourcing platform, which is Intello, you can go to intello.com, that's with one L, and you can learn more about passive sourcing and how it is that we kind of automate the process there as well.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much, Mark. I really appreciate you being here today.
Lori, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.